This is Annalise Jarvis. This is AJ Sapkowski. Last year they won their sport's highest award, and recently they sat down to discuss the DNA of the Player of the Year.
Diving into the player side of things, your debut as a Grizzly here, you threw a perfect game. Can you explain a little bit about the mindset and the feeling of that day?
Yeah, it was a fun day because it's the first time I got to play as a Grizzly. So obviously you want to kind of make your debut in a big way. I had really I've experienced the week before our first game, really, a lot of anxiety and fear of what they call the sophomore slump. And I talked to our coach, Coach Razy, about it. And I was like, I'm just really worried that what if I transferred and everyone's like, oh, waiting for her to do something so big and so crazy. Like, what if I just blow it? What if I'm not good anymore? And so I got really nervous not to do well because I had such high expectations for me here. And Razy looked at me in that meeting and she said, I think that you're capable of way more than you're letting yourself believe. And that was kind of a turning point where I kind of let myself convince myself that I'm capable of anything that I can ever imagine. And I have always wanted to throw a perfect game in college. I got very close my freshman year, but never did it. And as the game went on and on and on, third inning, fourth inning, fifth inning, I kind of just thought, it's always in the back of my head, no matter what game I pitch, I was like, I might be able to do it. I was shocked that I actually did do it. It was pretty crazy. You could have never marked that up in a million years.
There's always external expectations, I feel like, but personal, did your expectations raise or did they lower after that game?
I kind of feed off expectations that other people have for me, that when everyone thinks that I should do well, then I start to think that I should do well. And I did have goals. I obviously wanted to break a strikeout record. I knew I was capable of things like that. I didn't even know a perfect game record existed before I threw my third perfect game. I didn't even know that existed. I do think that I had goals that for a single season strikeout record and then a single game strikeout record that I knew I had a chance to break, but I had no idea of the expectations that other people had set for me and then the goals that I reached.
As athletes, I feel like we have a lot of goals that we set for ourselves. Do you feel like most of the pressure that comes along with those goals is internal or external?
I think it's really internal. I set sometimes unrealistic goals for myself. I almost put so much pressure on myself because I feel like I need to prove myself something, because for so long in my life I was told when I was little, I was really, really tiny in travel ball, really. When I was in 12U and 14U, I was very small. I wasn't a very great pitcher when I was young. And I was told, and I wasn't played a lot then, I was told that maybe, like, oh, you're not going to really go anywhere big. You're not ever going to really do this and that because of X, Y, and Z. So I felt like I kind of owed it to little me to prove her wrong, that you can do anything you put your mind to. So I think a lot of it is internal. I do have a lot of, not pressure is the word, a lot of expectations from my family. My dad has been very involved throughout my softball career. So he thinks that he doesn't understand why I can't throw 21 strikeouts every game. He doesn't understand that. And so he has such awesome expectations for me. And so I try my best to reach the expectations I set for myself and the expectations he has for me, because he truly does believe that I can do anything I put my mind to.
You hit on how you deal with a lot of the internal pressures. Are there ways that you deal with some of the external pressures that come with playing softball?
Our physical field, our stadium has like lots of stands around, lots of bleachers, and they're always filled. And so the external pressure from lots of people there, and especially if it's a big game and there's a lot more roar of the crowd, you definitely have to kind of master the art of the zone in, which is basically where you can just block out external noise and factors, so like temperature, umpires, noise, cheers. Especially in softball, girls are very cheery and loud. We have a very loud dugout, and opposing teams do as well. So you have to kind of block that out to be able to get in the zone to where you can feel your body, feel what you're doing wrong. If something goes wrong, you can really adapt really quickly, and you just kind of zone in. And there's a difference between zoning in and zoning out, which has definitely been a journey for me in my college career. I've definitely learned the difference, that you can zone in and still remain who you are. And I'm a very laughy, goofy person, especially on the field. I like to smile a lot. I like to joke around with my teammates. I can still be in the zone, but my personality kind of shows through. And so I think that's so important, to be able to focus, but also be the teammate and be the person that everyone knows me as being.
So talking about the smiling and joking around as a personality, what does the best version of you look like on the softball field?
It's definitely can vary from day to day and what my team needs. And I think the one, especially from last season, that was the biggest version of myself that my team needed was they needed someone to calm them down. And in big game situations or tiebreakers, opening round was a really big example of this. I just needed to keep a very calm presence in the circle, because when I'm calm and I'm confident and hey, there's no train that can get past the Grizzlies, then my defense is calm, my defense is confident. And confidence is such a big part of this sport.
How would you say GGC developed you as a softball player so far?
We have such great coaching here, and I was really excited to come in with such a stable coaching staff. That's not something that I had in previous schools. And so having Coach Kat here for 12 years, Coach I here for just as long, and then Razy coming in when I came in, they were just such a strong foundation that they set standards right off the bat, that no matter who you are, what you do in this program, no matter if you're the best player in the country or you're a pinch runner, like there's a standard for you. And so they have developed me to recognize who I need to be, even when I'm not playing. And they've done a really good job at that. And so I'm honored to be able to play under such strong coaches that have not only developed me as a player, but also as a person, as a wife, as a future mom one day. They have done a really good job at developing that personality for me.
As the pitcher of the year, that might strike some fear into opposing batters, but what would you say your approach is on how to get a good hitter out when you're in the circle?
What's so funny is this is universal to softball pitchers, that the little dink hits when you give up a no-hitter, it tends to always be to the number 9 batter, and it's because of how you think. And it's why I'm so curious about you as a good hitter. Do you think a lot? Because really good hitters tend to think. And so my goal as a pitcher is to throw off your mind, not throw off your swing. And if I can convince you that I'm throwing a curveball, but I don't, I've thrown you off and I've made you think. And if I can make a good hitter think, then I can get you out about 90% of the time.
Spot on.
Thanks.
Do you have goals in mind that you've set for yourself?
I'm a very numbers-oriented pitcher. So of course I want to have such and such ERA. I want to have so many strikeouts. I want to throw so many perfect games, of course, and I have those. But I think more internally for me this season, my biggest goal was, okay, the whole country now knows me as the best pitcher, but now I want the whole country to know me as she's a really good person too. And that was a lot of self-realization, because especially my freshman year, I felt like my whole worth and identity was put in those numbers. And my sophomore year, I wanted to do the same thing. I was a little bit more mature going through what I went through my freshman year. I wanted to, of course, reach those numbers, and I had those goals. But now this year, it's what's next for me, numbers-wise? I just want to do it all again, of course. But I'm more focused on what my team needs for me.